Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? How Learning is on is Lathan Jr.
And it is me, Rachel and Lindsay.
Just to let you guys know, it's midnight on the East Coast. I'm in New York City. It's 9 o'clock in LA. Big Rach is on the home front.
On the home front. Ashleigh's holding it down at 10 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
10 o'clock with Ashleigh in Denver. But we didn't think it was a good idea to like wait until Tuesday to give you our reactions to the convention. That would have been stupid, right, Rach?
Yeah. It wouldn't, we wouldn't have done it. So, here we are, late at night, making sacrifices, because that is what we do here on Higher Learning, to make sure we give the people what they want and what they need. Van, you had a live show. Like, you're coming in hot off the television. How did it go? What was it like?
Fantastic.
You were with the legend, Ed Gordon. You were with Jamel Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So what did y'all do? Y'all were live watching and discussing
we watched, we talk about different things. We covered it live. We did it live.
You behaved.
We did it live is what we did. It was fun. What was no pleasantries this time. It's too late.
It's too late. That was it.
The DNC is finished. It ended with nearly 40-minute speech,
Scandal?
a little over that. Yeah, scandal.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Before we get into the day that TMZ had, let's talk about...
I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. You love it.
Before we get into the day that they had, let's talk about the most important thing, which is Kamala Harris's speech at the DNC. Rachel, she needed to have a big moment. Did she have one?
Yeah. I mean, she absolutely had a big moment, not just in what she was saying, but how she was saying it, right? She was in control. She was demanding. She really captivated the audience with her energy, with her timing, with her message, with her storytelling. I thought some of the most powerful things were the personal stories that she told to affirm the political career that she has thus far, to determine the decisions that she's made, from telling the story of her parents to telling the story of a childhood friend who was in attendance. I thought that was really, really honed in, because a lot of times you can get caught up in thinking, and I'm sure this is the case for some politicians, if not a little bit in every politician, that it's a little bit of, there's an ego, they're self-motivating, but their intentions are, about them and big upping themselves. And there seems to be a little pride in it. But I thought it came across as a very selfless speech. And I thought that she really spoke to the people, and showed that she is of the people. And we really get that with her and with Walz, which is in deep contrast to what the other side is presenting. I thought, she covered more. For a second, I thought she wouldn't go there. And I'm not, and we'll delve into, some of the different issues that she discussed, but she seemed to cover a lot within that 40-minute speech. And yeah, I'll just in talking about her speech, that's my general in referencing Kamala's speech. I thought it was what it needed to be.
Do you remember when Beyonce performed at the BET Awards for the first time?
No.
You don't?
The first time?
Yeah, when her first solo performance ever was at the BET Awards. Or her first solo performance ever might have not been at the BET Awards, but when she was out there performing at the BET Awards and she didn't have Destiny's Child. Do you remember that?
No.
It was a sort of high leverage moment.
Okay.
Beyonce was someone who we knew, but we knew her as a member of Destiny's Child. It's a big deal, right? Whenever she would dance, there was always somebody dancing with her. Then she goes solo. And she has a lot of different solo iterations before Crazy in Love, right? She has a check up on the song. Watch me while you check up on it, dip it, pop it, circuit, time to check on me tonight. Ooh, boy, you look like you like what you see. And then Crazy in Love comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Beyonce's big moment. And everyone's watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems crazy. But we're watching to see if she has it by herself.
Of course.
We're watching
I
to
was
see if
watching.
someone who has all the talent, pedigree, who's prepared, if when the lights are the brightest and she's on the stage by herself, if she can deliver. It reminded me of this. This is not the first time that Kamala Harris has taken center stage. She's been center stage at rallies over the last couple of weeks, but those were like check up on it. Those were like the singles and the little stuff like that, maybe concert somewhere. This was her solo moment. This was her Michael Jackson, I need a solo spot at Motown 25 to hit the moonwalk and let everybody know that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Beyonce moment. I am here. I have arrived. I'm here. I'm by myself. I'm not with the group anymore. Everything revolves around me and I'm here. Those performers delivered in that moment. Michael Jackson delivered in an iconic fashion. Beyonce delivered, though. She's got it. She's got it. Look at that. That's your next generational star. There she is. And I felt like Kamala Harris delivered tonight.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because what she had to demonstrate to me was command and compassion. She demonstrated that she is up there in command of her narrative and that she, unlike the other side, is compassionate. Was it perfect messaging? No. Obviously, I feel like the messaging around the Israel-Hamas war wasn't where me, and I think a lot of people would have wanted it to be. However, the takeaway from that was that people should stop dying and that we have to continue to fight and advocate for a free and self-determined Palestine.
Mm. And I don't think that was just the message, but
Give it to me.
she said that they would keep supplying to Israel.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Israel has the right to defend itself. We will continue to keep supplying to Israel so that they are able to do that. And yes, she also, called for, the rights for Palestinians as well. But what she called for is not possible. So for me listening, I was a little shocked. Not shocked, that's too strong of a word. But I kind of went, when she said that they would continue to supply. That was a strong stance to me in support of what she plans to do with Israel, because it is well researched and well reported on that those weapons have been used to harm the very people you say should not be harmed. So to me, it was like you said you said things for both sides, but you also said something that's impossible.
Which part of it is impossible to you?
You can't have both.
You can't have a military relationship with Israel and want a free Palestine.
You can't call for the horrible things that have been done to the Palestinian people and call for humanitarian efforts and still say you're going to give money to Netanyahu's army, who has vowed at all costs to do what he has to do to basically destroy Hamas or Palestine or whatever, however you want to phrase it. You can't accomplish both. When you're giving those weapons to Israel, you're giving those weapons to a man who has no consideration for the people in Gaza. None whatsoever. So I don't understand. You can't do both. That's impossible. So I was a little like, when she said the weapons part. It's one thing we hear people split the baby and say Israel has the rights to defend itself. And the Palestinian people deserve to be free and to be free of harm and to have their rights. But to say then you're going to supply weapons to a man who has no regard for the humanitarian effort of the Palestinian people and their cause doesn't make sense.
So I think that in the coming weeks, we got 10 weeks, we're about 10 weeks out. In the coming weeks, these are the questions that she's going to have to be asked, and these are the questions that she's going to have to answer. Because putting forth a worldview that says, hey, I believe in the alliance between America and Israel, the economic and military alliance between America and Israel. I also believe in a strong and free Palestine that has self-determination. The question, to your point, Rachel, is how? How do you believe both things? And she's going to have to demonstrate that. As far as achieving a ceasefire and the hostage return, those are things that you just have to have the will to do. But she, as far as the future of the region and how she envisions it, the question is going to have to be how. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can't come out right now if you're her and say that future doesn't involve Benjamin Netanyahu, because you're still negotiating. The administration is still negotiating a ceasefire deal and a hostage deal. And in some way, you have to maintain some type of relationship with him in order to persuade him to do the right thing. So it's a hard situation. But you're right.
It's a hard situation.
She has to demonstrate how. I do think the tenor of the speech and the personality that she showed, the strength and the command that she showed, to me, was exactly what needed to happen in probably the most high leverage political moment of her career.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought it was great. And, the build up to her, the excitement, the momentum, it was a lot of pressure. And she just slid right into it as if this is exactly where she was supposed to be. Yeah, that's the way I said it.
She just slid right into it. Jesus Christ.
She did. As if this was her moment. She was meant to be here. She was meant to represent herself in this way. Like it was written in the stars. What I will say is to go just a little bit back to the how. I wasn't expecting her to discuss how she would resolve it. I wasn't expecting her to get into the nitty gritty, but I was a little like, when she said the weapons comment, because that's a little bit more into the thick of it. But you have that coupled with the fact that you have these protesters who apparently there were negotiations to have a Palestinian presence at the DNC on the stage at some point. There had been some conversations, and it was decided, I think yesterday, that was not going to happen. And then you have that section of the speech. So to me, I thought that might cause a little bit of an uproar, that there was no voice from the Palestinian community permitted to be on stage. And they considered it at one point and they took it away.
You think the Democrats are full of shit?
No. Okay, that's extreme. Now, I'm not saying that I think that they're full of shit.
Hold on. I wasn't trying to put you in a trick bag there. I'm just saying it's at a certain point, it's a lot of people on the left who have been, the issue horseshoes a little bit, but there's a lot of people on the left who have been talking about what needs to happen in Gaza. Leftists, should I say, certainly not liberals and definitely not Democrats, but you would think that there would be a home for the uncommitted movement in the Democratic Party, or else, or they act like there is one. They intimate that there is one. And I'm asking, you think that they're full of shit? They didn't allow them space to speak at the DNC. The DNC is now over. And Kamala seemed to demonstrate that she is willing to keep the military channels in terms of funding and sending weapons with Israel alive. Do you think they're lying?
Well, it's more of like your actions speak louder than your words. your actions are not really splitting the baby. Your actions are leaning more towards the status quo of what has been done. You're saying that and I believe that, the Democrats want there to be the killing to stop. They want to protect these people. They want to see these people be restored. I do believe that. But if I'm looking at the actions show that you're going to keep doing what the administration has been doing. And at a moment where there were so many voices that were given the stage to speak to what they believe in, to speak to their patriotism, to tell their personal stories, to say why they were there for a variety of reasons, whether they were moderate, whether they were right, whether they were conservative, whether they were liberal, whether they were progressive, whether they had a child that is currently a hostage right now by Hamas. Many voices were given the stage. And I'm sure there were others that were denied, but this is the one that's that we know about, and that's the loudest. So I'm just saying the actions tell a different story.
To me tonight, she was strongest in making the case for her background as being more connected to the middle class and casting Donald Trump as a self-centered and selfish elitist who doesn't have the best interests of America at heart. I think for some reason, her messaging on the differences between her and Donald Trump, they're more pronounced than Joe Biden when he said it. I mean, Joe Biden doesn't have the same background that Donald Trump. Very few Americans do. But he had been such a stalwart in Washington for so long, and he'd be so powerful for so long, it was difficult to listen to him talk about how his lifestyle and Donald Trump's lifestyle were different. But when you listen to her, and you listen to the immigrant background, and you listen to the middle class background, East Oakland, all of that stuff, when she tells her story, it's not quite like President Obama's story, but it is a story that I think a lot of Americans feel represents their idea of what the American dream should be. For some reason, when she tells it, and she's up there prosecuting the case against Donald Trump in terms of what his interests are and who he cares about and what he wants to do, it was effective. I felt like she cut an effective contrast between her and Trump up there tonight. I think that was the most important thing she had to do to make her speech a success.
I mean, she can just stand there and be in complete contrast to Donald Trump. And I mean, and to your point about Joe Biden, he's blue collar, middle class, how he grew up, but he's still a white man at the end of the day. And she represents so many different things with just her presence, her makeup, and her parents and how they built something, and poured into them for, she and her sister Maya to build something. So I think that's why when you hear her say it, you also see it. Like you can put the two together. And when you package the two together, it just makes it so much more powerful. I really like the messaging of the freedom. I really like this someone said it today on TV and I thought it was really interesting. And I'm moving a little bit away from Kamala Harris and also just talking about the theme and the messaging of the convention over these last few days. But someone said they're going from freedom from versus freedom to do, which is the other party. And you've got this, the DNC is about freedom from basically Trump, basically from MAGA, basically from all those ideals, all the freedom from the rights that they're trying to take away. Like but they're using this word freedom, which is linked to patriotism, which, they're waving the flags or chanting USA. It's just, you don't really see that from the left. That's more of a message from the right. versus the right who has this, you have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do. And it's just really interesting that they took this word and used this theme and made it the opposite, used it against the other party to show that they're the ones who are actually embodying what freedom stands for. And they're actually the ones who are highlighting patriotism versus what the other side who claims that's what they are, but their actions aren't showing that. I thought it was genius. Really, like this is the execution of this DNC. It's the greatest festival of 2024.
Yeah, freedom is always an incredible thing until you have to share it.
Sure.
Everyone loves freedom when they're the only people that are free. It's when you have to share freedom that freedom gets tricky. For example, country gets started, the framers make a huge deal about what it means to be free. They base an entire society, entire set of laws around that. Well, who paid for their freedom? We did. We paid for their freedoms. They could have a lot of stuff. We paid for their freedoms, us. You get to a point to where what we want is a compromised freedom, an agreed freedom, where everyone is as free as everybody else. And the point that you're making is great because it's like, if you're looking at the gun debate, gun violence, like how free are you if you live in a community ravaged by gun violence? Mm-hmm. Are you as free as the community 15 to 20 minutes away that is not like that? Can you move as freely as they do? Unmolested by the violence of the gun, unmolested by the cops who are over patrolling your neighborhood. How free are you if you don't have environmental freedom in your community? How free are you if you don't have bodily autonomy? How free are you? How free are you? How free? How free are you? How free are you? How free are you? So when they talk about freedom, they're talking about their freedom being better than yours. And if you come down to it and you make everybody's freedom equal, then you'll find another word in there, compromise. And that's kind of what they don't want to do sometimes. It seems like they want to just say, this is our version of America, and you either live in it or you get the fuck out. What it is. Maya Harris came out. She's trending right now. People are into Maya. Maya came out there in the pink. You didn't see this? Maya came out there in the pink.
No, I saw it, but what are people saying?
They saying Maya a star, man.
Guys.
They saying Maya a star. They feeling Maya. See, these are the kind of things that need to happen, though. If all the people out there vote, if only to see more Maya Harris. Maya came out there. Maya's shit was glistening. You saw her hair?
Yeah, it was on point.
It was glistening. Trump didn't have nobody like that. Who would you rather? Would you rather get more Maya Harris for the next 4 years? Or would you rather look at Scott Baio, Kid Rock, Laura Loomer? You know, these are the choices, man. These are the choices. Trump melts down. He was on Fox. The lady from Fox told Donald Trump, she goes, you know, how are you going to stem the tide of Kamala Harris? You know, she's having some support with young female voters. She's having some support with younger voters, period. And Trump said, she's not getting support. She's not doing well. I'm doing well. She's only doing well in your eyes. And if that's the way you see it, that's fine. He's not having a fun time right now. He's definitely not.
Have you seen his tweets?
I did. He was literally having a freak out. He was like, is she talking about me?
What?
That's what he said.
Did he? Wait, hold on. I have this.
Nigga, did you even see it? You're asking me if I saw it. That's exactly, he said, is she talking about me? He asked it in all caps. Hey, Trump over there freaking out, man. Trump need a break. Let JD Vance run the campaign for the next 2 weeks. Trump need a break, man.
He said Walz was an assistant coach, not a coach. Where's Hunter? Too many thank yous. That's what I saw. Too many thank yous. Too rapidly said. What's going on with her? This man has nothing. This man has nothing to go after her about. He's criticizing her for saying too many thank yous at the top of her speech, where she was thanking her husband and her children and her family and her niece. Like, well, the man is losing it.
Donald Trump's fucking family is barely coming around.
I know.
So you can't really thank anybody but motherfucking Mike Pillow. The fucking Lindell fucking...
Is he still around?
He showed up. He's showing up places.
Have you seen...
Go for it.
Have you seen the RNC roll call video versus the DNC roll call video? It's just all sad.
We want to remind all our delegates, our alternates and guests, that maintaining order during the roll call is extremely important.
Georgia, how do you cast your vote?
If the convention is not in order, it's difficult for the secretary or presiding officer to hear the vote announcement.
Turn out for what?
Oklahoma, 43 votes, President Trump.
P.P. Harris, come to the wall.
It's just all sad for them.
Like, obviously, there's some of this that is cultish. And what I mean by that is that we talk about there being a cult on the right. When I see there being a party and people making being a Democrat part of their personality, I guess your political views are part of your personality. But I tend to look at all of this stuff in a little bit more of a sanitized way. I'm not saying that way is better. I'm just saying that, like, there's a part of this that rises to a sort of religious fervor. Not that these people can say anything and get away with anything as some can on the right, but, you know, I see hints of the same thing. However, having said that, enthusiasm is always good, particularly in situations like this, where you need people to get out and do something that will benefit one political party. And also, the most important thing about the DNC, forget about celebrity guests. Forget about some of the really genius things that they did, the roll call, some of the great speeches. There was a lot of style, but the substance of it was important. Because I have a fundamental belief that a lot of Americans are just tired of being sad.
For sure.
They miss the joy that these last 4 years have robbed us of. And when I say 4 years, I don't mean the Biden administration. I mean the assault of COVID, the divisiveness in our politics, the abnormal level of hate and vitriol that we have for some of our community members. They really want it to end. They would rather just plain up. They would rather fight than go to war. They'd rather slap box than cut each other. And I think that the DNC did a good job of showing that there is a place for joy and excitement and tolerance in today's political climate. How far it goes with voters, what kind of bounce she gets, I'm not sure, but I think they did a good job of displaying this over this week.
Yeah, I agree with you about people being sad or just apathetic to everything. It's just like people there was like not a care. They weren't invested. I felt like it felt very robotic. And that's moving into the Biden administration. You know, I don't want to say hopeless, but a little bit. The things just didn't matter. And now I feel like the hope, like Obama's campaign, 2008, it was all about hope. I remember feeling very hopeful. I remember feeling very excited. That's how this feels this go around for sure. And I'm curious. I'm curious in a way that I haven't been before, because this is going to be, I mean, hopefully Kamala Harris wins the presidency. It will be a new administration. So I'm curious to see how things play out. I'm curious to see her implement some of these policies that she mentioned on the stage today. So yeah, it's definitely, I feel a bit renewed politically when it comes to that. You talked about people trending. What did you think about DL Hughley? That he's trending, because he's trending very much so as well.
What, like, think about him in what sense? I thought it was a pretty standard
Well,
speech.
Well, in this, I appreciated his honesty and how humble he was to admit that he did something wrong, and to come on stage and say, I did it in a big and a loud way, so I'm going to come and apologize and talk about what I did wrong. I thought that his sentiment saying that he was very critical of Kamala Harris because of things he had heard, but he had not done the research. And the only reason he did the research is because he is a celebrity and he was personally invited to meet Kamala Harris, and he did. And she encouraged him to do that. And it changed his mind. And he felt embarrassed that he was spewing out all these things, but they weren't rooted in anything. He was talking about Kamala Harris and believing everything that he was hearing without having done any research. And this is a man who has a national presence, who has a show, a microphone. And to me, it was so important because I thought, you are representative of what a lot of people do, who then don't have the privilege to have the very person that they're talking about reel them in and say, hey, this is what you need to do. And so I thought it was powerful because of what he represents. And I hope that people who are similarly situated or have that mindset, it encourages them to do the same thing. Because even if you didn't watch it live, it's all over the blogs right now. And so I hope it's a self-check for a lot of people, because I just was shocked that somebody who is the presence that he is with a national show was out here just saying stuff, and it wasn't even, and was willing to believe it, which that's a whole nother conversation. Why were you so willing to believe negative stuff about her? I don't know. I'm not going to get into the gender wars. I'm just saying. I'm just glad he apologized for it. And that's what I guess I was more asking you for, is for your opinion about that revelation and the apology that came from it.
So this is what I think. Couple of things. Number one, you watch Game of Thrones, right?
Yes, I do.
What is it called
Um,
when someone comes to you and asks you for your fealty, whatever, when they're subjugating you, what do you have to do? What's the act that you have to do when you're being subjugated in Game of Thrones, and you're pledging your loyalty to somebody else?
you have to bend the knee.
You have to bend the knee.
I can't believe I got that right.
Score one for Rachel. You have to bend the knee. That was essentially DL bending the knee to Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was him bending the knee. It was important that he did it because of some of his past criticism, but he was bending the knee. In terms of people saying stuff and not being well researched, I'll be honest with you. I just don't want to even put it in the wind that I'm criticizing someone else for that. I do my best, but I think that we've all been guilty of that for a time.
This is different. This is different.
Talk to me.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Of course, we've been on this show and said, maybe unintentionally said the wrong thing, right? But that's not what he did. He was critical of her. He was basically saying he didn't like her or support her because of certain things he was hearing. It was a continued narrative. It's different if like some people were criticizing the way I was talking about the Blake and Justin situation. And they were like, oh, you missed this part. You didn't say that. Well, I didn't do that intentionally. And it's not something I'm going to continue. I didn't form an opinion about Blake. And I'm continuing this narrative to discredit her or to dislike her or to deter people away from her. I might have missed something or I didn't say something. That's not what DL was doing. So I don't want to say that I'm not guilty of saying the wrong thing sometimes, but I'm also not intentionally not researching something and forming an opinion about that and then encouraging other people to form this opinion. And I'm continuing this narrative as well. There's a difference to me.
So if I'm following, and I'm not holding any water for DL at all, you're saying that he knew the truth, but he was intentionally telling other things that he didn't know were true. Because if not, we're saying the same thing.
I'm saying he knew the truth that he hadn't done the research.
No,
he literally
he said he believed things that he had heard. And then he had a meeting with
That's
her
what I'm
and
saying.
she said, do some research. Well,
he admitted that he had not done anything. He just heard something and then just said it.
Right. So what I'm saying is, I don't believe, and we'll love this. I don't believe that he was intentionally trying to assault her. I think he was being obtuse and lazy on it. Right. Now with you, even with you and the completely fucking inconsequential. I don't even know why people would even have sometimes y'all save y'all opinions on some shit. When I say save your opinions, I mean, it's not that we don't want to hear your opinions. I very much love hearing opinions from the audience, but if you go kick somebody's ass, don't let it be over Blake Lively and the This Means War, whatever the fuck movie it was. Don't let it be over that. Kick our ass over some, what is it called?
It ends with us.
This Means War is a Simon's
This
movie.
Means War.
That's Simon's movie. Yeah. I'll actually fuck with that. But if you go kick somebody's ass over, don't kick nobody's ass over that one, man. Like, let that one slide. When we come back and we get it wrong about some other shit, kick our ass over that, man. Nigga don't give a fuck about it. We got the juice. What's the name? We got whatever the movie called. But,
whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, when people were saying that about you, they were essentially saying that there are things about that out there that you had formed an opinion without knowing everything, and you were choosing to believe some things and not others. All I'm saying is, for him, I think he was falling. I think he probably fell victim to hubris. To, this is my opinion of someone based upon what I've heard or based upon the cut of her jib or whatever. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to say this. And then he dug a little bit deeper into it and he found out some different things. I wish people would do that on all kinds of things. I wish people would do that on all kinds of things. Just stick your nose in a book, watch a documentary, not just one, but several. Consider opposing sides of it. Just consider that you could be wrong on something. Just the consideration that you could be wrong on something goes so far in making you smarter. It's almost impossible to articulate how just the notion that you might be wrong or that somebody else might have a point deepens your understanding of an issue. Because if you learn about the opposing viewpoint, it makes you so much better at spotting out the bullshit in that viewpoint and strengthening what it is that you are arguing for. So, I get what you're saying. I think that the most important thing was that he came out and he took his whipping in public and he bent the knee.
Sure. Sure. I'm saying he's representative of so many other people that do that. I thought it was a really important moment. It was actually one of my favorite moments of tonight. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, like I'm not here to criticize that he spoke and what he said. I think it was a big moment. I was asking you what your opinion of it is. But yeah, a lot of people do that.
Come out there and bend that goddamn knee.
But he also
That's
had
how
the privilege to be railed in, is my point. It's not like he was like, you know what, I'm going to go out and research. She
he
called him
was.
out.
The privilege was this: he was important enough to be railed in. So, in him being reeled in, I think a lot of other people think his job now is to go out um, and make sure that other people are as educated on things as they should be, particularly black men. As we talk about, look, I believe in black men deeply. I deeply believe in black men. I was raised by some of the most amazing, flawed, but beautiful black men that God has ever created. There's nothing that they can tell me about black men, about my brothers, that'll ever make me believe that they're anything else than fundamental to American society. But the conversations that we have with each other, they have to be based in, to me, well researched and well thought out um, opinions and logic about how we see our communities and what it is and who it is that we want to be. That's what has to happen. We as brothers have to have conversations about how we protect, provide, and ascend in America. As us. We talk about this as us. We have to have conversations about how we make space, how we empower, and how we stand strong. And we're not going to always agree about how we get there, but we have to have the conversations based in reality. We just have to. And I'll be honest, I'll say something else, man. You know, I don't want to, we have to be there for each other and we have to be there for the young boys. Because a lot of the love for Donald Trump that I see sometimes from some brothers, way less brothers than they say, but for some brothers, is because to someone who didn't have a direct example of a man in their life, the dominance, misogyny, and self-serving nature of Donald Trump feels like manhood. It feels like masculinity. Sometimes manhood feels like never having to say that you're sorry or making everybody else around you feel small so that you feel bigger. You know, it's not growing with people, it's growing over people. And it's having people worship you and being able to buy whatever you want or fuck whoever you want. Or manhood to some might feel like I can grab her by the pussy and she'll just let me. That feels like being a man. That's why it's important for us to be there for young boys, be there for each other, and let people know that manhood is comprehensive, like Jason Wilson says, and that it's beautiful, and that it doesn't mean that anybody else has to suffer or be afraid or be dominated for you to feel filled up. And niggas can take that how they want it. But I was in there and I watched Kanye West say something about Donald Trump, like Donald Trump was always almost his daddy. You know, and I can just look at somebody and tell when they haven't had nobody teach them how to piss in the toilet. You know, when they haven't had anybody that's right there for them, when they feel confident in all of those things. So that part of it is over. But those are conversations we have to have. And everybody jumping on our back and telling us that we ain't shit, that's not going to help the situation at all. That's not going to make us feel any more loved than we are right now. Well, I can't make it that women's job. Black women or any other women. Black men got to show up for black men, and we have to give each other space to argue, space to be wrong, space to be right, but more importantly, space to grow and decide how we view this thing and how we want to do this thing. Because if not, it's just a dick measuring contest in perpetuity. You know? TMZ fucking failed tonight. There's no way around it.
You are relishing.
I'm not. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you guys, I have absolutely 0% ill will for TMZ. I still know a lot of people that work at TMZ. I talked to Charles not too long ago. I have 0% ill will for TMZ. 0%. I really don't. Like 0%. When I was at TMZ, I loved all of my coworkers. The job had a lot of soul-crushing aspects to it. But if people are going to tell you around that office, I was happy. I was happy to be around people. I was happy to learn their stories. I was not always happy at, aspects of the job and what it meant and something. But I loved the people there that I worked with. They reported at TMZ that Beyonce was coming to the DNC, and the whole fucking internet ran with it.
Why would they not? It's TMZ.
There have been
more likely than not. They're right.
Yeah, there have been rumors that she would fucking appear, and people were talking about it. And then, really, just before the DNC started, TMZ reported exclusively that she would be there. Everybody was getting ready for it. There were pictures of, oh my God, this is Beyonce's motorcade, blah, 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 blah. And then about an hour later, Beyonce's PR lady came out and said, fuck no. We were never scheduled to be there. We're not coming to that bitch. We're not doing none of this. Right? I got to tell y'all something from having worked at TMZ for 9 years. A whiff like that, we could talk about other TMZ whiffs. Like people always want to talk about the Lil Wayne whiff, right?
Sure.
Here's the thing about the Lil Wayne thing. I can't remember what year it was. It was either 2011, 2012 or something like that. TMZ reported that Lil Wayne, who had a seizure, was close to death that somebody was reading his last rites. Let me tell you guys something about that. When you source a story, that means that somebody that is a trusted source is telling you something.
Right.
So somebody close to Lil Wayne, in Lil Wayne's orbit, whatever, I'm not about to fuck over Raquel or nobody else, is saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is the deal. And then TMZ reports it and they said, this is what the source told us. That story's gold. That's 100%. Like, you can run with that. Like, I think I've told you this before. If somebody would have told me, if somebody tells me not right now, let's say I talk to Pretty Hair and Pretty Hair says, hey, did you hear? Rachel is the new host of America's Next Top Model. They're bringing the show back and Rachel's the host. Your mom telling me that? Mm-hmm. That's a good source. That's somebody who would know if that was happening in your life. I'll print that. I'll put that up. Now, what happens if you don't get it? If you don't get it, then either your mom was wrong, but the story that TMZ put out there that your mom is going to be there, or you're going to get the job, that story is actually correct, technically. This is different. They ran with Beyonce is performing at the DNC.
Yeah.
Now, the only way they would have known that is if somebody had told them. So maybe you could say, hey, it's kind of the same thing, but it's not, because if you say that Beyonce is performing and she doesn't perform, that story is wrong. And my only question is, if you didn't hear that from Beyonce herself, or if you hadn't got what United States staff, and I'm not trying to tell TMZ how to break a story, but I just don't see how that goes on the site if you don't have 100% 24 karat gold confirmation that that's the thing, because that is, somebody is getting their fucking ass chewed right now for that. Unless it was directly Harvey. Somebody is getting their ass chewed for putting that on the site and then that not turning out to be true, because that is a major embarrassment.
Okay, with that kind of, do all stories have to run through Harvey before they can be posted?
No.
Okay, so is this really? So somebody could just be like, well, that checks off the list as a trusted source. They just upload it without Harvey knowing?
So I'll tell you a way it's worse. So let's say I was on the sports desk, right? So at the time I was there, the sports desk was me, Evan, Mike Babcock, Lucas, Edward, and whomever else was there, right? So I get a story, and I had publishing privileges after a while at TMZ. Like I could publish a story, right? Like I get a story. The story is what if the story is a video, then you get the video, you write the video, you put the video up. Right? You get the video, you write the video, you put the video up. The story needs a little bit more. If you need legal on it, if you need a lawyer to come over and look at it, then you might wait on it. If it's a lead story for the next day, then it probably has to be a little bit more buttoned up. Not every story is created equally, right? But Harvey certainly doesn't see every story that pops up on TMZ. For a story like this, I'm assuming he'd have seen it because it was later on in the day. It was a story about the DNC. He's very involved and interested in politics. I'd imagine that he'd have seen this one, right? But Evan or Charles, two of the other bigwigs there, like you go to Evan and me and Evan talk about a story. If Evan says the story's good, the story's going up. The lawyer come out, work with me and Evan on the story goes up. So it doesn't need Harvey all the time, not at all.
I think, the rumor is that it came from somebody within the camp and they did it to bring more eyes onto this last day.
If that's true.
That's the rumor.
So if somebody in the Harris camp fucked TMZ on purpose to make people believe that Beyonce was going to be there, if that happened, then they can get ready for retribution. If somebody purposefully, now I'll tell you something else that's going on that I know to be true, something else that's happening. There are people who aren't affiliated with the Harris campaign officially that are acting like they are and using it for clout and then using it to try to get on the Harris campaign. Let me tell you some of the stuff I've been hearing. I've been hearing that some people that are reaching out to different celebrities, they're reaching out to like rappers, that are reaching out to singers, that are reaching out to actors. People that are reaching out, they're people that want jobs with the campaign, that want to be with the campaign, and are reaching out to people hoping, and these aren't just like random people. These are people that may have worked with them in the past or people that work in this industry that are saying, hey, I would like a job on that campaign because they think that she's going to win and I can bring this celebrity with me. So there are a bunch of people out there speaking on behalf of the Harris campaign, Harris Walsh campaign, that aren't officially with them. And so I don't know who sourced this or who had this conversation, but even in that type of situation, it's still odd. I don't know if I've ever told you this story before, but do you remember Jason Pierre-Paul, the football player? Remember he blew his fucking hand up? Yeah, you're doing that right now.
That's what
I don't know if I've ever told you this before. I had that story. Did I tell you this before?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if I told this story before on the podcast, but it's important. So somebody called me that morning and said, hey, because time difference, and I was so pissed I had to work on the 4th of July. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Nothing's going to break. I want to go. Somebody called me and go, hey, we were just playing with fireworks. Jason Pierre-Paul blew his hand up. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm like, hey, I hit everybody. I'm like, hey, I want to let y'all know Jason Pierre-Paul, I got this from a good source. Jason Pierre-Paul blew his hand up. He blew his hand up like he did his shit. I knew that the hand was blown up. I knew that this was real. We didn't put it up.
Who
and
did?
the reason Schefter ended up putting it up. Because here's the deal. We didn't put the story up because we couldn't confirm. I knew it 100%. We couldn't confirm that his hand was blown up. We didn't have a picture, and we couldn't get any medical records. Now, we don't do the HIPAA violations thing. You'll get the fuck suit out of you. So if we couldn't get a picture of it, and if we couldn't get anything from any doctors or anything like that, then we weren't going to put it up. Schefter or somebody else, I can't remember if it was Schefter or someone else. I don't want to speak ill of Ellen. Look it up, Ashleigh. But somebody ended up getting some medical records and then putting those medical records up and using that to confirm the story. And then they got sued or they got in trouble.
Oh, wow.
Another time was when Robert Kraft was getting herked and jerked down there in Florida.
That?
No, we knew that it had happened. We knew that it had happened weeks before it came out. Weeks before it came out, we knew that it had happened. But we couldn't get the cops. I think it was in Jupiter or somewhere down there. We couldn't get the cops to confirm it. Yeah, we couldn't get the cops to confirm it. Like, we could not get the cops to confirm it. We were hearing, like, we got tipped. Hey, just to let you know, Robert Kraft was was arrested in a sting at a massage parlor. Like, we were getting tips, and we started, and we boom, and then we find out, like, people are telling us, hey, this happened. Like, I was right here. Robert Kraft got arrested. Or like, I know that this happened, but we couldn't get anything from the cops. We had the story written and ready to go. But what ended up happening was we had to wait till the cops did the whole, hey, this is a whole big deal that came out and all the names were in the reports or whatever happened. We had to wait till that happened. But we had been new. So I say all this to say that going from like having stories like that with like big stories and not actually putting them out because we couldn't confirm them to putting that on the site as if that were going to happen. Because even if you did that, if you put that story out, Beyonce will be there tonight. Beyonce could be like, I want to fuck TMZ tonight. They put my elevator video out back in the day. So I'm not going to do it now. I mean, you're putting yourself out there in such a way. I was literally shocked when they put that out there. I thought they got that from Roc Nation themselves, because I know Desiree at Roc Nation and stuff talks to TMZ. Like, I thought they got that from Roc Nation themselves. I thought that was sure that was happening. That's actually kind of a big deal that they were that wrong on that story.
I think it was huge, because even when you messaged the group and you were like, it's not happening. I went back like, well, who reported that? And then I was like, oh shit, it was TMZ.
Yeah.
I mean, because immediately, like, I'm not saying they're 100% right all the time, but TMZ has enough of a reputation to where you say, oh, well, it was TMZ, so it must be true. And then this kind of hurts their credibility. Now you're going to be like, well, remember if they got the Beyonce thing wrong?
Well, yeah.
That's bad.
I mean, look,
it's a big, I wonder if they'll,
it happens to everybody, but
this is
it's a big deal.
This is big because it involved the DNC, it involves Kamala Harris, it involves Beyonce. Like, and it wasn't just that they said Beyonce's not going to perform. It was that she was never scheduled to perform. So you can't even say, oh, she pulled out. No, she was never going to be there. That's so bad. It's so bad. Wow. Sorry.
Beyonce is trending too. A lot of stuff happened. Did you see the whole drama with Lil Yachty and Caribou, the rapper?
Does this have to do with the convention?
Mm-mm.
I don't even know who Caribou is.
You need to look into that. Lil Yachty went crazy on. I was following two different stories. I was following this story on Twitter about this guy that had a relationship with a girl, and he had asked her for some videos, and then she said no, and then they were going back and forth. Everybody was talking about like consent and what it means and whether or not, because he asked her for some videos, and then she said no, and then he asked her like, oh, well, why not? And then she said that was harassment, and they were going back and forth. I don't know how these things make it to, and then Lil Yachty, and I don't know how these things make it to my timeline, but it was a lot of stuff that was going on at the DNC. Lil Yachty and Caribou had a beef, and Lil Yachty was talking about he wrote all of Caribou's rhymes, and he then diss his friend, and he don't want to do a podcast with his friend no more.
Okay. What
Your
else
thoughts?
is there to talk about? I don't know who these people are. I was very much so focused on the DNC. The biggest drama to me was the Beyonce of it all. Yeah, I just no. I'm kind of glad it's over though. It's a lot to be watching every day. It's just a lot to be watching every day. You know, need a break.
Hey, you know what? We gotta put one in the air, man.
Why? What happened?
There's yet another successful woman of color that is getting divorced from a white boy. You're not the only one this year.
Well, I haven't been the only one this year.
You and JLo. You are the JLo of higher learning.
I don't want that title.
You are. You and JLo.
I don't.
You should, but see, your problem is you don't
Yes.
think about
Ashleigh.
the upside. You should hit JLo up right now. Because let's face it. If you told me one day that you was going to Malibu Wines with JLo, that would make sense. That would track.
Why?
I can see you hanging out with JLo, man.
I don't know why. I have interviewed JLo and I can't see myself hanging out with JLo. JLo has a small circle of friends. She's not trying to let anybody else in. It is interesting though, because she filed this divorce without an attorney. Mm-hmm. On the day of her anniversary, JLo said, I've had it enough. I want this thing over and done. Yeah. And it's being reported by TMZ. So don't know how true that is. That there was no prenup.
What does that mean? Tell us what that means, because they both rich and they got a lot of bread. Like, what does it mean that there's no prenup?
It depends. I mean, okay, she filed the paperwork, which means like you can literally print that out and check boxes. Like, right? That's how Brian filed it too, but he had an attorney. You're not going to see that the person has a prenup within that. So people are saying no prenup because the paperwork doesn't show that, but they very well could have had a prenup. But TMZ is saying sources are telling them that there was no prenup. So that's what I'm going off of. They were only married for 2 years. So it's only a matter of what happened in those 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So if they got money between those two, if they got money in those 2 years and they got to split it?
If there's no prenup, or if like something appreciated, or if there's a debt that was incurred, like anything that happened that way, or you bought property or something like that, open up a business, all of that could be on the table if there is no prenup. Spousal support could also be, but it would be half the time of the marriage, which would be a year. And actually she lists the date of separation as April. So a judge could say it's less than 2 years. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she said to waive spousal support for both. So who knows? I mean, can you see Ben?
Were you happy when they got back together and you're like, oh my God.
I was happy when they got back together. Not that I'm one to be fully invested in like celebrity relationships, but I just thought, what a cool story. To 20 years later, you both moved on, you had kids with other people, other marriages, and then you find your way back together. And it was like, well, if this really works out, like what a beautiful kind of fairy tale story. You found your way back to each other. I liked that. And it just ended so quickly. It makes me sad for both of them. Really.
Yeah. I was happy because it was just like a throwback. You know, it's like your person is out there. You never know what happens. I do think that they'll spin the block one more time. I think it'll happen again. I do.
Maybe privately.
I think this is a Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton type of situation where they might spin the block a couple more times. But I can tell the kind of things that break up a couple like that. I can tell that he probably has fucked up feet and she's probably gassy.
I don't even want to hear how you came up with that.
Oh, I can tell. I can tell he probably has because he's got Ben Affleck has like crazy posture. Like you look at him, his back is always like super straight. So he's digging into his heels a lot. So his heels are probably like fucking cracked and just crazy. And they probably like when they lay in the bed, his heels are touching her. She's like, oh my God, Ben, why don't you put some Gold Bond on that shit? And that nigga Ben is like, hey man, I don't want to put no Gold Bond on my shit. Like I'm digging into my heels because it's good for my posture because I'm standing up straight. And then when she's asking him about the Gold Bond, all of a sudden you hear, and then that's JLo. Dutch ovening him down there because you could tell she's a farter. You could tell in the eyes when somebody's
Let
gassing.
me tell you what I can tell
You can
right
always
now.
look.
Let me tell you what I can tell.
And when these are the types of issues, just let me finish. These are the type of issues that I feel like really broke them up. He's got fucked up feet, and I think that JLo is gassy.
So let me tell you what I can tell. That it's 1:15 in the morning over there. And I'm afraid we might have to stop this podcast after our DNC conversation because it's getting a little kooky.
Why does it? Why? You know what?
It's
you know
just
what the thing of my life
we're really trailing off here. It's one.
I'm
It's
not trailing
and like
off.
I'm
That's
giving
how
you
I
grace.
feel.
You traveled across the country. You had to prepare. You had to be on. Being live on air is a different kind of mental exercise. No, then you got to get on the podcast for a couple of hours. It's okay. I think the thought words will give you some grace. We're just getting a little bit like wackadoodle.
Well, here's the thing that I would say. I would say that it's just another example of me being judged. I had a take. I was able to get that take out. But because it's something that's like
feed and gas.
I could just look, these are the types of things that get on people. Like bad feet. I could tell she always talk about she likes to eat arroz con pollo and beans. What did she say? What did she say to
No, she does not say that.
That's what she said.
When did she say that?
She said
that
Sterling
is not
K.
what she
Brown.
said she got at the bodega.
No. Wrong. Ashleigh, find the clip. She was doing a junket with Sterling K. Brown, and they asked her what's her comfort food, and she says, I'm Puerto Rican. I like to eat rice and beans. And then Sterling K. Brown said,
I know what you're
rice
talking
and beans
about.
with chicken, and Sterling K. Brown said, arroz con pollo.
Arroz.
Gato.
I remember. This is when the floodgates opened on JLo.
Me gusta.
Your go-to comfort meal.
Yeah, I grew up, I'm Puerto Rican, so I like rice and beans.
Are you Puerto Rican?
And yes, I am. Rice and beans and like, chicken and stuff like that.
Frijoles, pollo. Me gusta. French toast.
Shit, it's hard.
He had enough. That's when the floodgates were open. That's when the floodgates were open. He goes, really, you Puerto Rican? That's when people, to our point last week about Blake, this is when people were on JLo. They were like, she always trying to remind people that she's Latina. And Sterling K. Brown said, you know what? I've been in this junket all week with her. I've had enough. That's what that was.
All I'm saying is that the beans right there checks out. All right, before we get out of here, I want to say something real quick.
Oh, no.
There's a guy who plays flag football. What's his name? His name is Doucette. Doug Doucette is his name? Is it Doug? I feel like it's Doug Doucette.
I don't know his first name.
He is the quarterback of the USA flag football team. And he says he's better at flag football than Patrick Mahomes because of his IQ.
Mm-hmm. And
Y'all
his experience playing the sport.
Y'all jump down this nigga's throat. Okay? Y'all jumped down his throat because there's a real issue that a lot of NFL players are, maybe intimating that they might want to play flag football. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's great to see. I think it's great to see some ex-players out there. Kaepernick said he might want to play flag football. Let him go out there. That would be crazy if he went out there and was able to get a gold medal playing flag football. It'd be great. Draped in the flag, whole nine, full circle moment. Let other people do it. Like play flag football. Everybody jumped down this guy's throat because he said that he was better than Patrick Mahomes at flag football. And they started. I watched the highlight package from this. This nigga's a fucking dog. You kidding me? This guy was making all kinds of plays. He throw the ball kind of funny, but he was throwing dimes. He was throwing dimes across the middle. He was throwing dimes in the back of the end zone. He was throwing it deep. He did this one move where he ran, and then somebody tried to get the flag, and he sat all the way down, like drop down and get your eagle on, and pop back up, and then ran a touchdown. This dude is a dog, man. I think y'all haters. I think some people were hating on this guy. He is better at flag football than Patrick Mahomes. He's not better. He's not a better football player. I don't know.
Has this guy ever played professional football? Has this guy ever played in the NFL?
No.
He's 35. I'm just curious. I mean, at this point, listen, it's like, of course people jump down his throat, right? Because this guy made a big comment. And honestly, I think it was smart, right? I didn't know who this guy was. We know flag football is being played in high school by women now. We know that it's going to be an Olympic sport in 2028. And we don't really know the players involved other than NFL stars, specifically retired ones, are saying that they want to play into it. And this is a way for NFL players to continue their career. But this guy's basically like, hey, I've been doing this and I'm amazing at it and y'all don't know who I am. So how do I bring attention to it? I make an outrageous statement. And the only reason I say it's outrageous is because we don't know if it's true or not. It's almost like apples to oranges. It's a different game. It's a different rule set. It's a different caliber of player on the offense and the defense. It's a different game. It's football, right, but it's a different game.
So why?
So you can't say, you don't know. We just don't know is my point. He might be better than Patrick Mahomes. We have no idea.
Knows.
But he's also applying the NFL game to flag football, just like people who are listening to this are comparing flag football game to NFL. We don't know. My point is, he did this to do exactly what's happening, and it works. I think it's genius because now we know who he is, and we're going to be watching for him in 2028.
First of all, shout out to him because he is a proud Louisiana man. His name is Darrell Doucette. Okay. Proud Louisiana man from down there in New Orleans. All right. Shout out to him. Baton Rouge over here. I got your back. Let me tell you something right now. This is what I think. Wait a minute. Did you just get all on him? Did you just jump on it?
Let me look up Darrell.
You like that shit. Look at you. See you out here.
I like New Orleans.
This is your JLo era. You're in your JLo era. You're in your JLo era.
35, a little young for me.
Yeah, you're in your JLo era. Yeah, you like a minimum age 70 now. I know what you've been doing. No, I'm saying is that what I'm saying is it's not crazy for him. I don't think he said it because of that. It's not crazy for him to think that he's better than Patrick Mahomes at his sport. The rules of the sport are different. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes has played some 7-on-7 football, skeleton game, all of that stuff. But it's not crazy for him to think that he's better than Patrick Mahomes at his sport. I think the reason why he said that, there's probably some self-promotion in it for sure. But I think the main reason is that people are assuming that an NFL quarterback or somebody else from outside of the game can come and just take his spot on an Olympic team. And what he's saying is, I'm better at my sport than they are at my sport. It's a different thing.
And we don't know.
I watched his highlight package. I watched, the nigga's a dog.
I'm going to follow him.
I just followed him too.
I'm going to follow him. And you know what? And you know who he's following?
Who?
Quincy.
Oh.
The quarterback coach you want. So Quincy might be working with him. Somebody else who he's following? Jordan Palmer, also a known quarterback coach.
The Bachelor. Is he from The Bachelor?
No, he's the brother of Carson. But he's
Jordan
like,
Palmer,
yeah. So that's who he follows. So, assuming he's worked with both one or one of them, he's got some training out there. Got some good training behind them. Oh yeah, Quincy and Jordan both follow him. Yeah. So he's been working. Listen, I like it.
Quincy
I want
played
Patrick.
me, man. Quincy, shout out to Quincy. Quincy played the
I'm gonna
hell
tell him
out
to come
of
on.
me,
I'm
man.
gonna tell him to come on the podcast.
Nah, man, I wanted to really be, maybe
I know you did.
could've-
We're gonna talk about it.
If Quincy would have actually showed love, maybe I could have been on the USA flag football team. But Quincy played me, bro. I thought I had high hopes for Quincy, but Quincy showed he just like the rest of them. Damn. Quincy.
Who's the rest of them? How many people did you hit up?
I reached out to several coaches.
Did you reach out to Jordan?
No, I didn't reach out to Jordan, man. I wanted a black man, But Quincy showed. I had a really good idea. My idea was, can you train me and then you show? Because if you can make me into a competent quarterback, then that would show somebody that you could teach mechanics, you could teach anticipatory throws, you could teach all of that stuff, and then you could come back and you could use that.
Anticipatory throws. Why don't you try for flag football? This could be a moment for you.
Yeah.
Think about it. You've got like 3 years really to get it in to start training.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for you. I would really like to see this for you.
See, the difference is between me and you is I don't suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. So I know that at least if there's not a flag football team for guys with over 35 BMI, then I know that it's probably not going to be someplace where I can succeed. There are a lot of things that I can do. I'm a good athlete at a lot of things. I'm taking a pro fight next year. But I know that the flag football thing is probably out. I'll tell you what, though. I can get better at things. I like getting better. So Quincy, if you want to help somebody get better, then why don't you help me? You don't want to help me, brother. I see. Okay, one day you're going to need me for something, Quincy.
Maybe I'll ask Quincy for help. Maybe I should try to go out for, the women's flag football.
Go for it. You almost made the Olympics.
Let's go.
Take your thing caps off with the Non-Stop Learning. I'm Ben Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lindsay. Bye, guys.